In life, we often work hard, stay loyal, and help others with good intentions. But sometimes, the smallest mistake, one quick choice made without thinking, can destroy everything we've built. Today's story will remind you that even a good heart can suffer if it loses patience for just one moment. Many years ago, in a quiet old village, there lived a young man named Thomas. He was kind, honest, and always ready to help anyone in need. He worked as a postman, walking miles every day through forests and fields to deliver letters between the nearby villages. He didn't earn much, but people trusted him deeply. They said, "Thomas never opens a letter, never delays a delivery, and never lies." One evening, while returning home after a long day, Thomas saw a man sitting beside the road. The man looked weak and tired. His clothes were dusty, and his eyes were full of worry. "Are you all right?" Thomas asked. The man nodded slowly and said, "I need a favor. I'm from the next village, and I've lost my bag while crossing the woods. Inside that bag, there was an important letter from my family, a letter that decides our future. Can you please take this letter instead? Deliver it to my wife, Mary. She lives in the white cottage by the old well." Thomas agreed without hesitation. The man handed him a sealed envelope and said, "Be careful, don't open it. It's about our family inheritance. If this letter doesn't reach in time, everything will be lost." Thomas promised, "You have my word." As he continued walking toward the next village, dark clouds began to gather. Rain started pouring heavily, and the road turned muddy. He covered the letter with his coat and kept moving. Halfway through the forest, he saw a small hut with a fire burning inside. He decided to stop for a few minutes to dry himself. Inside, he found an old woman sitting by the fire. She looked at him and said, "You shouldn't travel tonight, young man. The storm will only get worse." Thomas nodded. "I'm just delivering one last letter." The woman smiled faintly. "Letters can wait, lives cannot." But Thomas was stubborn. "Someone's future depends on this," he said. The old woman looked at him and whispered, "Then make sure your curiosity doesn't destroy that future." Her words confused him, but he didn't ask anything and left. As the rain grew heavier, the letter started getting wet. Thomas looked at the envelope. The ink was fading, and he worried it might get ruined. Without thinking much, he held it near the firelight and tried to dry it. That's when he noticed the seal loosening. A thought came. What if it's something dangerous? What if I'm being used for something illegal? He tried to ignore the thought, but another one followed. What if this letter is worth money? What if it's a trap? He shook his head, telling himself, "No, I'm not that kind of man." But the curiosity kept growing stronger. Finally, he said, "I'll just take a quick look, then seal it again. No one will ever know." He carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a small piece of paper with just one line written on it. "Trust decides destiny." Confused, he looked again. There was no name, no address, no signature. He thought maybe the man had tricked him. Angry and wet, he threw the letter into the fire and walked out of the hut. The next morning, when the storm stopped, Thomas reached the next village. He asked around for Mary, who lives in the white cottage. A woman pointed him toward a house near the well. When he knocked, a woman opened the door, weak, with tired eyes. "Are you Thomas, the postman?" she asked. "Yes," he said, surprised. "How do you know my name?" She smiled sadly. "Because my husband told me. He said if an honest man named Thomas came with a letter, our life would change." Thomas froze. The woman continued, "He went missing 2 nights ago. The landlord said if we can't prove our ownership of this house, we'll lose everything. My husband said he was bringing a letter from the lawyer, a letter that had our proof." Thomas felt his heart drop. The letter, the one he burned. He stood there speechless, as the woman broke into tears. That single letter, the one he destroyed, had been her only hope. Thomas tried to explain, but she closed the door, crying. He walked away in silence, realizing that his curiosity had cost an innocent family their home. That night, he couldn't sleep. The words from the letter kept echoing in his mind. Trust decides destiny. He finally understood. The man had been testing him, not for money, not for delivery, but for trust. And Thomas failed. From that day, he continued to deliver letters, but he never smiled again. Rain or shine, he worked quietly, haunted by the memory of that one letter he shouldn't have opened. Years passed, and people forgot the story. But every time a new postman came to that village, old folks warned him, "Never open a letter that isn't yours." Once, a man named Thomas did, and lost himself forever. This story teaches us that curiosity and doubt are dangerous when they overpower honesty. Sometimes, we lose everything, not because we are bad people, but because we let one wrong thought win. Remember this: a single choice can decide your destiny. So protect your honesty, even when no one is watching, because once trust is broken, no letter in the world can ever deliver it back.